You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnCollege and use code LockedOnCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. Daily fantasy sports made easy on PrizePicks. Now, this bowl game is just a couple weeks away, as I said in the intro, and the Eagles right now are a 9-point underdog if you look at FanDuel. So BC has a lot to prove in this game. They have a lot that they have to show that they aren't, who is it? Tom Fornelli of CBS, I think, put this as one of the worst bowl games of the year. And I get it. BC plays an ugly brand of football right now. They're playing bad football. And you're playing against an SMU team that could blow them out of the water. They have to play better if they're going to want to win this game. So what am I going to be looking for? There's a bunch of different things I want to see in this game. Now, obviously, key number one is to win win your first bowl game since 2018 and 2016, excuse me. And your first bowl game would get you up to 7 wins. That would be a nice start. That's one thing, but that's not really what I'm looking for. That's like the end product of whatever's going to happen. And the first thing I'm going to watch for is the guy on the screen right here, Thomas Castellanos. Now, TC has been a polarizing figure at the end of the season for Boston College fans because he had an up and down year. It was, at the beginning of the year, you got guys like me saying like, this guy is electric. I saw people comparing him to Kyler Murray. Near the end of the year, you're like, why aren't they playing him at Moorhead? Is he hurt? What's going on here? But he had moments too. Remember what his Pro Football Focus grade was? He had like an 86 in that Miami game. Basically, the scouts watched that and said he played a very good game. And even though he threw 2 interceptions, but those interceptions weren't really his fault. So I want to see him continue to grow. Like, I want to go into this offseason with TC saying, okay, he had his ups and downs, but man, that last game, we saw something out of him. We saw it continuing. We saw that growth. So for Castellanos to go into that game, to go in and maybe, we see some of the runs that he had against like UVA and Army, but also the passes like we saw against Florida State and even against Louisville. I know the defense couldn't stop anything in that game, but man, Castellanos was good in that one. I want to see him limit the mistakes he made. Like every single game this year, almost without fail, there was at least 1 or 2 plays like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? And that's the kind of stuff that makes a good quarterback average and an average quarterback bad. And Castellanos has to be careful. Like right now, you can use the rationale that, okay, Castellanos has only started 10 games. He's going to make mistakes. And I think that's a fair assessment. The people who are like railing on him, he stinks, whatever, you're not giving the guy a chance because we saw the flashes. And again, he's young. He's going to make mistakes. Can he learn from them? He gets 15 or I think it's 12 to 15 practices. He's healing. If he was banged up, hopefully whatever was banging him up, he will be 100% this game. I want to see him prevent those passes that you're like, who are you throwing to? What did you see? Like, I go back to like the Virginia game. There were passes that he underthrew. There was a game, there's every game, there seems to be a few of those. It'd be a great opportunity for us as for you as a fan base and me as a writer to go into this offseason going, okay, Castellanos added some more to his repertoire. He looks a lot more comfortable. BC's in a much better spot for 2024. So he'd be the first part. That's the first thing I'm looking at. Okay. Secondly, we're going to continue. We're going to continue with the defense. The defense for me, it was the biggest disappointment of this season. And there's no one spot to point to and say, hey, that was the reason why the defense stunk. You can look at the secondary. The secondary had a tough year, and they looked really bad once Elijah Jones was out of there. The pass rush, which you can also chicken and egg that with the secondary, but the pass rush was almost dead last in the country in sacks when you had a guy like Donovan Nazaraku, who was first team All ACC going into the season. What the heck happened there? You saw the linebackers. You had Vinny DePalma, Cam Arnold. We didn't get to see Bryce Steele this year because of an undisclosed injury. And we don't know what's going to happen with that. But you have all these issues on all three levels of that defense. And you're playing an SMU team that's going to be playing their backup quarterback. BC's done that. BC's faced them a couple times, of backup quarterbacks a couple times. I don't count Tyler Van Dyke as a backup quarterback because, yes, he was technically the backup quarterback that last week, but he was also the starter for a couple years. So he's not really the backup quarterback. I look at the game that BC played against Syracuse, against Del Rio Wilson. I don't think this kid's going to be that bad, but this is an opportunity for this defense to make some plays, to get out there and establish themselves and make a turnover or two. I'm worried though. I'm worried about that secondary. The secondary has been very suspect, and their depth is just is poor. Like, you don't have a lot of depth. Like, CJ Clankscales, no offense to the kid, he's a redshirt freshman, and they have him out there playing slot. You have John Pupil, a Ivy League transfer, playing safety, who has had some tough games this year. Cole Batson, we don't know what's going on with him. I think he played the last game. I honestly don't remember that whole last game. I kind of blacked out. So I look at this defense and I say to myself, this is a game where I want to see them show something. Again, just like with Castellanos, I'm not expecting them to be perfect, but I want to see signs of life. They just look dead week after week. There's not like anything exciting since Elijah Jones was showing breathing some life into that. But now that he's gone and we don't know what happened there, the defense has just been dead. They have not shown any life. So this is a perfect game for them to jump ahead and do something like that. Now, I want to let you know about PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the most fun I've had, winning up to 25 times my money this NFL season. And with the NBA coming around as well, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League, a league created specifically for combo projections that includes two or more players from different sports or leagues. For example, you could take Jason Tatum and Travis Kelce at a 10.5 combo of 3 points made and receptions. You want to play against celebrities? Who doesn't? Player along rapper Meek Mill and comedian Andrew Schultz. You can find them on the community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in the PrizePick communities each week. What you need to do, you put your deposit in, you could turn $10 and $250 with just a few taps. PrizePicks is really simple to play. I can make my picks and submit my entries in less than 60 seconds. And with quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types, it's what makes PrizePicks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. So go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use code LOCKEDONCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use code LOCKEDONCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. Go to PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Locked On BC, AJ Black here. Happy Friday, everyone. This is Locked On BC, your team every day. If you are an everydayer, if you're someone that listens to Locked On BC every single day, I want to give you a tip of my cap, give you a cheers in my glass, because each one of you is what make Locked On BC the top Boston College podcast out there. You're the reason I do this, the reason that I love doing a podcast every single day. I'm a sicko just like you about Boston College sports. Now, we're talking about the SMU game. And just to give you a preview, we'll be having Mitch on a couple more times. I have 247's SMU writer coming on. There's a whole SMU site out there. He'll be talking to us on the podcast. We got a lot of fun coming up. And of course, I got Beacon Street Ball coming on. We'll have more guests as the weeks progress. I think you'll love seeing who we have planned. Now, one of the biggest questions going into this game, and I think it's a question every team has, is what's the depth chart going to look like? And this is something I'm going to be watching for. BC got hammered with injuries again. It feels like tale as old as time. It's just like the end of the season, guys fall apart. So you have a combination of injuries. Your guys like Bryce Steele, Ryan O'Keefe, George Takis that are gone. They're injured. They're not going to be playing, right? But now with the transfer portal opening and players have to make their decision, many of the guys and players that you might have thought of as like backups or guys that could fill in are gone. And yeah, most of the guys that have left are backups, but that raises the question, if an injury happens, who's going to play? And there's some really key positions where I'm like, if BC gets loses a guy here, it's going to be really, it's going to be a crapshoot who's going to play. First one is quarterback. Now, going in all season long, you knew that if Thomas Castellanos got hurt, you got the smack kicked out of him quite a few times, that if he got hurt, Emmett Moorhead would be there to fill in. Moorhead, he could play. He could run the offense. He looked broken from what I was watching. I don't know what this team did to him, but it seems to be a theme with BC. But he would have been fine. Now you're going to go into this game against SMU. Who's your backup quarterback? Is it Jacoby Robinson? Is it Matt Reevy? That's the only two guys you have. So it's going to be one or the other. I mean, if I was a betting man, I would think it's going to be Jacoby Robinson. My bets, though, is that hopefully they won't need to do any of that, because that's a scary jump from Castellanos to him. I know a lot of folks are really excited to see what Robinson can do, but remember, folks, he's 18 years old. He's fresh out of high school. He might have some real big growing pains against a team like SMU. But it's not just quarterback. I look at running back. You're going into this game basically with three warm bodies at running back. You lost Pat Garwo, which we already knew was gone, Cam Barfield, Xavier Coleman, and Andre Hines. That's like half of your running back room is gone. So you're stuck now. Well, not stuck, but you have left Kai Robichaux and Alex Broom. Those are your only running backs that have any experience. Because then after that, you're looking at like Dontrell Jones, who's a true freshman, or then you're looking at the walk-ons like Jackson Treaster. So I feel comfortable that they can ride those two, Broom and Robichaux. But again, if even one guy goes down, you're going to need to go to Dontrell Jones, because you don't have anyone else. You can't run just Robichaux every single down. So you got issues there. You got issues at tight end. You've got, on the defensive side of the ball, there's going to be guys that you're going to have to fill in that, you weren't expecting to lose. I honestly, I'm thinking about it. The defense, I feel actually, now that I think about it, is probably not that bad, but the offense just lost a ton of guys. And then on top of all of that, that's where we're at right now. I'm telling you, keep your eyes on opt-outs, because I can think of at least two that wouldn't surprise me. And we'll have to wait to see what they have to say, because I don't know anything specific. But as Mitch has said Mitch Wolf of Eagle Insider has said on our podcast as well, these are two guys that it doesn't make sense to honestly, like, would you risk your draft stock to play in the Fenway Bowl? And they're both on the offensive line. It's Christian Mahogany and Kyle Hergel. Because then if you lose them, you're now going into your depth at offensive line too. So it's a big thing here for BC. And I don't know what SMU is doing, but I guarantee they have the same issues. This is not a universal thing. I mean, a BC thing that they're dealing with. I mean, look at what Florida State's dealing with. They're going to have the same issues. Every team that's not in the playoffs is going to have this problem. So we'll just have to wait and see how BC handles it. I think that's a big one to watch for. Now, in a moment, I want to get into a question that I had just kind of posed a second ago and look at the the quarterback position and where they look like in terms of depth there. Do they have enough or do they need to go and get a transfer? We'll get into all of that in just a moment. Now, passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. And with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. With eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusion apply. eBay guaranteed. Only available to U.S. customers. This is Locked On BC, AJ Black, and we're talking about the quarterback position. Now, for those of you who, before I get into that, big weekend right now for BC in terms of recruiting. They have a international offensive lineman, a 6'7" dude from Senegal, who's playing over in England. Got the whole information up on our site. And they have 7 transfers. And I'm going to tell you, I think 5 are from big time programs coming to BC this weekend. So go over to Eagle Insider. If you missed our special deal for 75% off, and then it went to like 60% off, it's still there. It's 50% off right now. Sign up today. You'll get all of this news. You're going to get Beacon Street Ball and his basketball takes, Mitch and his film analysis. It's the easiest. It's the best money spent if you want to want good BC coverage. So check that out. Now, speaking of recruiting, one question that that I was posing in my brain, and I was thinking about it before this episode, was I've been aware of what BC is looking at in the transfer portal. There's a heavy emphasis on the offensive line, secondary. I've seen smatterings that, obviously they've got a tight end. They've been looking at, a few wide receivers and running backs. But the one position that I have, linebacker is another one. I know a lot of folks are gulping over that, but I've heard that they're looking for him. Just maybe haven't had the right name pop up yet. But the one position that I have not seen them linked to, and it's the one that gets all the buzz. Like if you look at 247's page and their biggest stories, it's always the quarterback. Now, BC landed a transfer portal quarterback last year. They did it with Thomas Castellanos. They did it 3 years ago with Phil Dracovic. It's not a new thing for this program. But you have right now, in theory, you have your quarterback position set for 2024. Thomas Castellanos is back. He can't go anywhere unless he wants to sit a year. You got him. Then you have, as I said, Jacoby Robinson and Matt Reevy. And that's kind of it for your quarterbacks. You have 3. And you're not bringing in any true freshmen as of right now. Now, that situation could change. They're considering Henry Hasselbeck. I hear on and off. I don't think that he's going to end up there. I know he just decommitted from Michigan, but if I was to put a crystal ball in, I don't think he'd end up at BC. There is a potential quarterback, and I'll talk more about that next week. So there is a potential you could go into the spring with 4 quarterbacks. If that's the case, is that enough to get through next year? Maybe. Or does BC need to go out there and get a transfer quarterback? Now, I threw out a picture of Tyler Van Dyke if you're watching this on YouTube. And it's almost to troll you because, you're never going to get a quarterback to the level of Tyler Van Dyke to come to Boston College when you don't have playing time available and the NIL and all that kind of stuff is not to the level that could bring you an elite quarterback. It's just not going to happen. But do you look for a mid-level quarterback, a serviceable arm, someone with experience that could back up Castellanos? And I think you do. You're not going to get a superstar. I think like Emmett Moorhead, right? Maybe you could find a G5 quarterback that kind of has the same experience that he has, can do a few things, or maybe a quarterback that has the same skill set as Castellanos that you can start building your offense in a similar style. I think it would be a wise move. Robinson is going to be a redshirt freshman next year. Reavie, I mean, he's been there forever. I just don't think he's ever going to play. I think he's to me seems like a scout quarterback, right? And then you possibly have a freshman. Bringing in a quarterback that has played, that can like jump right in if you need him to, even if it's a huge jump off, it won't be as big of a jump off from playing a redshirt freshman. And maybe Robinson will be that guy. So I think it's honestly at the end of the day, two things I think will make a difference on whether they do it or not. One big thing is, will they get this true freshman quarterback? If they do that, maybe they don't need to. The other piece is where the scholarship distribution lies. Like BC is, as Jeff Halfley has said, is kind of up against it in terms of who they have available for scholarships and how they use them. Grabbing a potential backup quarterback when you might have the answer in Robinson may say to yourself, like, okay, we have bigger needs in the secondary. We need running back. You have those other issues that you need that maybe you want to save these scholarships for. So that's only a question that Jeff Halfley and his staff can answer. But I'm curious what you think. Should BC go out there and get a transfer portal quarterback? And what kind of attributes would you look for? Leave those up in the comment section. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say. Now, this is a big weekend for BC sports. BC basketball is playing Holy Cross. That poor school is now dealing with the loss of Bob Chesney. I know a lot of you folks were hoping that maybe if BC made a move, he'd end up at BC. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. He's at Holy Cross, but BC basketball is playing Holy Cross this weekend. BC just smoked Central Connecticut a couple days ago. Central Connecticut smoked Holy Cross. They're not a very good team, but hey, Holy Cross did beat Georgetown, so there's something there. And then BC hockey has some games this weekend as well. This is AJ Black. Follow me on Twitter at AJ Black 247. There's no games for me this weekend. I might watch Army Navy, but it's feeling a lot like Christmas around the Black household. So maybe doing some holiday stuff. So thank you all so much for all of you who have made Locked On Boston College your daily listen. If you were looking for other podcasts, there is a great network of other hosts out there. Whether you like the Celtics, you can see Locked On Celtics or Locked On Bruins or whatever you want to find. It's out there on Locked On. This is Locked On Boston College, AJ Black. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll be back again on Monday. Thank you for making us your everyday. See you soon. Take care.